It's not just Frederick County where the barns are disappearing. It's all over the country. We've already lost tobacco barns. They're almost extinct. Everywhere, the preservation groups are picking up the fact that we're going to have a great loss, and our kids will grow up wondering, what are they talking about a barn? What's a barn, you know? We want to have them still here and being used and part of our world as long as we possibly can.
Barns are especially satisfying to work with in that we anticipate when we walk away that it's going to be there longer than any of us who worked on it will live. It's already been here longer than we've been alive and should be here long after we're gone. We have learned while working on old timber buildings a tremendous respect for the people who put them here. They understood the materials they were working with better than we do. We learn a lot just by seeing how they fasten these together so that these timbers have stayed together beautifully for centuries through abuse, through bad weather, through hurricanes and tornadoes. They still are working. We often are using equipment that our forefathers would have never dreamed of. And the equipment, of course, the modern equipment we're using helps us to lift up timbers and get them into place and reach way up there. They couldn't have done it, except back-breaking, hard labor, you know. It certainly makes our task a lot easier than theirs. We have and like to use the old-fashioned twist T-handle drills, you know, but we're not producing our materials that way today. It's as a showpiece. It's to demonstrate how it had been done and helps people to realize the work that went into putting these buildings up hundreds of years ago.
The barns are so important to preserve because they are our cathedrals. Artists love to come out and paint them. People enjoy looking at barns in their living room on their walls. Paintings of barns have always been considered to be very special and a symbol of Americana, and we can't lose them. They're very, very important artistically as well as just to preserve them for our future.
As you navigate these backcountry roads through Frederick, you'll find barns everywhere. Brick barns, stone barns, log barns, dairy barns made out of cinder block, old bank barns made of big timbers. You'll find barns in beautiful condition that will be here for centuries. You'll find barns that are probably not going to make it through this coming winter. I think that many times people in today's life are just moving quickly, they got things on their minds, they're preoccupied, and they fail to see the sunset. And they fail to see a beautiful sunrise. We had a beautiful sunrise this morning. They always are driving by these buildings and they don't even think about them. It's part of the scenery, it just whizzes right by. I hope that with your program, people are going to say, hey, look, there's a really cool barn. I wonder how long that's been there.
I am brooding, as all the other farmers are, I know, who own barns. How much will it cost to put on the new roof? How am I going to get the big beam and take that bend out of the middle of it? The biggest problem the farmers tell me is the cost. And we are particularly anxious to help them with this, because if you can't afford to fix it, you're not going to. And that's just a basic fact.
Each historic project has its own challenges. They are different. Every one of them is different. And it's a challenge in bidding on them, getting a fixed cost price up front because of that. And it's also a challenge because it can be very dangerous. You're dealing with pieces of lumber that weigh tons, multiple tons per piece. And you've got to get that up there, without injuring anyone or the building. And that's after you've removed what was obviously decayed to start with. It becomes very dangerous and quite a challenge in the rigging, we call it. Rigging that holds the building together like a house of cards so that you can remove several of those cards while fashioning new ones here to be put in. It's always a challenge.
We are planning through the year to have workshops for the farmers or anybody who is planning to build a barn or save a barn, where we are going to be speaking about ways to handle the cost of repairing a barn, which, as I said, is astronomical, and also new ways, solar, greening, all this stuff, ideas that you may not have heard of. And I hope everybody who has a barn and is worrying over preserving it will come and listen and make notes. And we do also plan to have barn owners there who have made the big step, done the preserving, found a way to make their barn useful, and all kinds of very extraordinary ways, some of them, but ways that have worked and enabled them to keep their beautiful barn a useful barn. It's playing a part. And I think that's the biggest secret in preserving, is that not only is it beautiful, but it's doing a job for you.
Barns in the future are going to be used in many different ways. Some people will live in the barns and make them their homes. Other people can make them their painting studio. They'd be wonderful. The light that comes in would be very particularly wonderful for painters. All kinds of possibilities that we can use the barns for.